Simo, Across the Timeways came out, which is the new Hearthstone set, has one of the most interesting mechanics that we'll get to later. But obviously, there's a bunch of new legendaries, and your job is to tell me whether or not you think these are good. Before we start, I gotta make this clear. This is after the first nerf, because originally, most of these legendaries were unplayable. Hopefully now the things have changed.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Great.
This set is based on time manipulation. It's called Across the Timeways. So a lot of these legendaries are really, really interesting. This is probably the most excited I've been in a while to show you guys cards. Well, especially some you'll see at the end.
Now, let me ask this. So, when we're saying playable, what are we going? Is this like, what is this metric we're going based on?
Currently played in a meta deck.
Okay.
You could ask
you have metrics for this. They're not just like, oh, I like this card.
No. Okay, we have metrics
just
for
curious.
this.
Just curious.
I will say that the patch, like I told you before, this patch came out on Thursday. We were recording this on the Monday afterwards. So it's only been about 4 days or so. So things could change. We never know what's going to happen. People can come with new strategies.
Gotcha. All right. Chrono-Lord Deios, 7 mana, 4/8. Your battle cries, death rattles, hero power, and end of turn effects trigger twice. Isn't there an old card that just makes it that your battle cries triggered twice?
Yeah. It's Bran.
Yeah.
I think I've shown you Bran before.
Yeah.
Do you remember how good Bran was?
I remember that card being very good from what I recall.
Yes, you're right. That card reminder was a 3 mana 2/4.
Okay. So that's the thing that gives me pause, is because on the surface, this seems insane. But there's a big difference between 7 mana and 3 mana, because in terms of like combo ability and stuff, like if you're playing this for 7, you're having to like spend your whole turn paying to get this out, and you better already have stuff set up, or it also just dies, and then you're just gonna cry. So it seems really good if you can have a way to like cheat it out for way cheaper on the surface though. So if like as like a combo piece, I could see it being played just raw, because especially you've told me how much faster Hearthstone is now comparatively. And this is like the newest expansion. Like theoretically, this card does nothing the turn you play it unless you already have a death rattle in play that you can like ram into your opponent's thing to die to trigger, or you already have an end of turn thing set up that's going to trigger twice. And that means you spent like turn 6 or 5 or whatever doing that, if we're just going based solely off the curve. Okay. And that's not like impossible, but this seems so good, but I feel like the 7 cost is what's holding it back. So I'm reluctantly going to say no, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does have a home.
Okay, so I will tell you this right now. Sorry to say, before the patch, this card was absurd because of one thing you just said, because of mana cheating. Bro got a card that was able to basically cheat this out for 4 mana. Oh, and you already know
that's
what
way better.
Bro can do. That combo was extremely good. On top of that, there was this warrior combo that I'm gonna show you. This is pre-patch, just for the record. Okay.
Okay.
This is to basically tell you how good this card was literally a patch ago. I'm gonna show you this card, which I'll just go through real fast. Target dummy says 6 mana 4/8. Death rattle deal 8 damage randomly split among all enemies. There's a card that could cheat it, or that can reduce the cost of your next mech up to 5. So just for this portion, just think that this is 1 mana.
Sure.
This card says death rattle triggered the death rattle of a random friendly mech. But you also get a miniature version of this card in your hand when you play it. So you get a 1 mana 1/1 copy of it. And if you play a weapon while you have a weapon, that triggers the weapon's death rattle. So on 9 mana, potentially if you have the dream hand, you go Deios, Deios dummy boom wrench into the mini boom wrench for 64 damage. It would kill everyone. Like no one lives. That was the most degenerate thing I've ever seen in my life. Now this is
it was pre-patch.
That was pre-patch. Now it's still playable.
It is still playable.
It's still playable. So there's this card, which is Ferocious Fellbat for Demon Hunter. Okay. This card says Deseret. Oh my god! I combined the word Death Rattle and Resurrect. Death Rattle.
That's a new mechanic, Hearthstone. Desurect.
It says Death Rattle Resurrect a different friendly Death Rattle minion that costs 5 or more and summon a copy of it. Which you may think to yourself, man, that's a really slow ass combo. That doesn't make any sense. But Demon Hunter also has this card, which is, and you can read it if you want to.
Return policy. That's funny. 3 mana, discover a friendly death rattle card you've played this game. Trigger its death rattle. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
So, because of effects like that, it's really good. Demon Hunter also has a death rattle card that reduces a minion in your hand by 6. So you get to basically mana cheat this card out. As long as there's some way to abuse the mana cheating of Hearthstone, Deios is a completely playable card. I will say, when I saw him, I thought he was going to be unplayable because I thought 7 mana as well. But
okay,
he ended up being a lot better than we expected.
So that surprises you, especially considering how expensive he is. Because I really thought 7 was going to be way too much, especially for modern Hearthstone.
I think it was shocking to see how good it was. I really wonder how good it's going to be post-patch, because a lot of the really good stuff is going to rotate out. And I know we say that like every standard rotation, but this year especially is a lot weaker than the previous year. So we're going to have to wait and see where he actually lands. But for the time being, he is completely playable.
Okay, well, I mean, I will say before we go to the next one, I'm happy that this card is playable, because this card seems fucking cool. So
yeah, it's definitely like when it's on board and you get any form of value, it feels so good.
Yeah. They stacked enough effects on it.
Yeah. There's that.
Chromie, 6 mana, 4/6 Death Rattle. Speaking of Death Rattles, draw another copy of cards you've played this game. I'm trying to think, like, how do you abuse this, right? So you go, again, and like with all the mana cheating, it's so hard to like, because there could be like infinite things. Because I'm thinking like you play really powerful effect and then you Chromie and then you draw it and then you play really powerful effect again, right? And maybe that's like game winning in and of itself. Okay. So it's kind of similar to the other guy that we just looked at, just like in a different way. You know what I mean? So like maybe there's a deck for it. God, like you're saying the draw order doesn't matter, but I feel like it sort of does. Yeah, I feel like there's a deck for this card.
Okay, so you're going, it's currently in a deck.
Yes.
This card is currently unplayable.
Well, never mind. So we are 0 for 2. We are 0 for 2.
You know what's weird about this card is I feel like when I saw it, I thought it was gonna be a lot better than I expected. I thought
at least I'm thinking the same as Rarran.
Yeah,
which,
so
debatably that may not matter here, but
that's not good for you. We were gonna call you bad.
That's true. That's true.
At least my logic was, if I'm playing Chromie, I'm gonna put it into like an aggro deck. I put it as the highest card in the deck, and I've already played a ton of cards because I'm playing aggro. And I'm drawing
and it refills you.
Yeah, and I draw a bunch of cards, and then all of a sudden I have like lethal or whatever it may happen to be. Problem is, this card's Death Rattle. I feel like if it was Battle Cry, then we're cooking on something here. The Death Rattle is just too slow, because in an aggro deck, you have to play it, you have to wait for it to die. And even then, they maybe just won't kill it. And then all of a sudden, you just have a 4/6 on board for 6 mana, which isn't good enough. But if it was Battle Cry, it's like, here's a 4/6, yeah, but then I also drew like 8 cards from it. And that sounds fantastic. Yeah. Would this card be playable in Yu-Gi-Oh? If it said like, when this minion dies, draw cards that you've already played?
Okay, let me think about this. Would this be playable in Yu-Gi-Oh? Exactly the same. Like, it dies, you draw copies of cards you played this game.
Yeah.
I'm going to say probably, because basically, especially if we're talking like modern Yu-Gi-Oh, right? You go first, you do your big combo or whatever, and then you like at some point in the combo destroy this yourself, because it's very easy to do with a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh decks. Okay. And then you get to draw like 10 cards that you've already played. So this basically would just be like Pot of Greed on fucking crack. So yeah, this card would be banned probably in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, I figured in your game it would be very, very strong. Hearthstone, because we have to pay the 6 mana for it, is where it really
well, even if you attribute like the cost to a level in Yu-Gi-Oh, if this is a level 6, like people would still find a way to cheat this out if it drew them like 7 cards. Like that would be insane.
My theory is that this card was battle cried. It had a battle cry, and then like for final testing, and they're like, maybe it's a little too good, so let's make it a death rattle. But I don't know if people would agree or disagree with me that even as a battle cry, I don't think this is that broken. Here is your next one. I showed this to you after we recorded last time.
Yeah, Murazan Unbounded. This looks familiar. Yeah, 9 mana, 8/8 dragon. Battle cry at the start of your next turn. Set this minion's attack to infinity. So this is really funny, because the people who watch the entirety of the card game universe between you, me, and CGB, they're very familiar with the giant cactar meme. Giant cactar is a guy in Magic that, I forget the exact text, but when it attacks, it's like cactar gets like 9,999 attack or whatever. So it basically kills the opponent if it goes through. Now, the thing is, like, I remember I was having this discussion when that card came out, and it's like, there's a point where, like, Hearthstone has 30 health, Magic has 20, right? Anything above the number you need to kill the other person is just extraneous, right? Because it doesn't matter if it's 30 or 30,000. As long as they die, the numbers are relevant, right?
Yep.
So does that mean that this card is bait? Not necessarily, because there's still a world where this card gets played, or like in Magic, the Cactuar gets played, and like, it still demands an answer. Like, essentially, if you're just raw playing it, there's like a 1-turn window where your opponent has to have a way to kill it. Otherwise, like, the game might just be over, right? In your game, they have to put up a taunt. In Magic, they have to put up a blocker, or like whatever. That's assuming you have no other ways to like cheat around the effect to like do certain things. I remember you and I were talking about like, how does this work if like its attack is infinity and then there's like something that like gives armor to your hero? Do you just have infinite armor? Or like, how does like, there's all these like weird mechanical things that I'm curious that like if Hearthstone actually has integrated or not with this, where like in a physical card game, you just like say, okay, it's infinite or whatever.
Yep.
So it's tough. I feel like Magic, I remember there's like ways to like cheat this out and or do things to make it that it ensures that they die. And that was like something that when the Cactuar came out, people were doing because it was very funny, very YouTube combo, haha. This, like, there could be the same thing. If there's any way to give this thing, you know, charge or just any other way to like bypass like taunts or anything like that, then this thing just wins the game immediately. Right? If it goes unchecked, if your opponent doesn't have removal, whatever, like there is a world that this card could be playable. I will say, I think with the Cactuar, people played it for like fun YouTube combo like the first couple weeks. And then I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, I'm pretty sure it kind of just like faded away as more of just like a gimmick than being actually good. So I guess I'm going to put Murozond in that same category here of like very funny YouTube card, but I think it's not actually like as playable as people would probably want this card to be.
Okay. So you're going with currently it is not in a deck.
Correct.
I think most people would agree with you, but you ready for this?
Oh my God.
Okay, so you actually kind of hit it right on the money. If you give this card charge, it is actually going to be very good. Fun fact for you, if your opponent does have infinite armor and you attack with infinite attack, you will kill your opponent. I learned that.
Really?
I learned that recently. Yeah.
Okay. The hard way or the easy way?
For context, we were doing a video called Hearthstone, but you can't deal damage. Like, you can't deal damage. So my friend's idea was to play Murozond, give himself infinite armor. And I didn't think about the strategy, but I had the ability to steal the card from him, play it on my side. And I just said, let me see if this works. I didn't attack him, but it showed me the skull. So he would have died.
And that means lethal.
Yeah, he would have died. So there's the answer to that question.
So does it actually show infinite armor like on your character?
Yes, it does.
It does. So it just has an armor with infinite. That's very funny.
Yes, it does. Yes, it's very funny. And I think we even tested it on like not attacking with the Murozond itself. And like, even if you deal damage, the number does not go down. Like, you're at infinite armor for the rest of the game. I'm going to assume.
That's funny.
So it was incredibly interesting to like test that out, and it was like the perfect opportunity to try a bunch of stuff.
It's kind of like a Mythbusters Murozond edition.
Exactly. It was just so funny to play with. It turned out Murozond's actually playable for two reasons.
Really?
One.
Okay.
There's this card. The card's called Zarimi. I don't know if I ever showed you this card before.
I don't think so. Okay. It kind of looks like every other priest card, to be fair. 5 mana, 4/6 Battlecry Dragon. Once per game, if you've played 8 other dragons, take an extra turn. Oh, okay. I see where this is going. Yeah.
So, as you can probably assume, there's a card called Ysera, which will let your maximum mana be 15. You basically just have to have enough mana to play Zarimi into Murozond, and then they're done. Like, that's the game. That's the play pattern. There's also, which you might remember from the Rarran's Rumble, Warrior got this quest, which is surviving 10 turns, and if you get it, you get Latorvius, which gives you all the quest rewards from the original Angoro. One of them is Time Warp, which does the exact
get an
same
extra turn that way.
Yeah,
got it.
It works a little different in Warrior because Warrior obviously has more survivability than the priest deck you're going to play with dragons. So as long as you just kind of live, you have an inevitable win condition because Warrior can also use removal on the same turn. But currently it is playable. Now, the question will end up being, does it get cut at some point, at least in Warrior, because it's too slow and you'd rather have just a better card in general?
Right, right.
That's going to have to be wait and see. With Zarimi's getting rotated at the end of this year. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not Murozond sees play afterwards. I will say, Murozond, if he did not have these two effects, would be unplayable.
Sure.
It so happens that the synergy is there for a card like this.
Now, I will say, like I said, Cactar was initially playable in the first few weeks of its release. So we might still be in that window that Murozond's playable, and it hasn't gotten to that point where people have decided to move it out, like you were saying.
Yes.
So it might follow the same pattern, but I think it's still too early to tell. But it's I still think it's funny regardless, so it doesn't matter.
The fact that it's just played and like you see it and there's also an achievement for attacking with it is so funny. Like it's just
that's funny.
It's a good time. Okay, really cool card here. You actually sent this to me when you when they were doing the reveals.
Oh, this card is sick. Yeah. So Husk, Eternal Reaper, 4-mana, 5/3 undead. Battlecry, give your hero Death Rattle, spend up to 20 corpses to resurrect with that much health. God, such a sick effect. This is so cool. Yeah. Just the fact that you can sort of like enchant your hero with an ability, I think is just a really cool design space as well. Like they've already had like overriding your hero with like other heroes, but it's like, oh, here's like giving your hero an effect that not necessarily, you really do anything with aside from like, your hero power or whatever, but it's like this thing just sort of happens. And yeah, I think just because we did play Death Knight in the Rumble, I think that's why this card immediately stood out to me.
Yep. Makes sense.
Really, really, really cool card. Is it playable now? I hope so. It's cheap enough that this is very easy to get out. And as long as like you still have the ability to just like farm corpses, which doesn't seem too difficult, although like you might want to use those corpses for more like proactive things. That could be the biggest issue. But the fact that you just get like a second life, I mean, we've seen cards like that, like Reno Jackson, like that card was very good. Any other, like, I don't know, that's the only one I can think of, just because, I'm a boomer when it comes to this game. So, like, if I'm putting it in that class of card, then surely it has to be good. I can't wait to go 0 for 4.
Okay, so, a little mechanical things with this card. It's not like Ice Block, where if I do lethal damage, I still can attack on the turn that Husk procs. Therefore, I do allow myself to kill you, even if I have if I have the additional attack and you only have like 8 life left, you will die. You could proc this on your turn, which is extremely interesting because like Ice Block, you can't proc on your own turn.
Right.
Which allows for some really interesting plays if you in like really niche scenarios here. But sadly, here's the thing. This card's not playable yet. The thing is with Husk, now I'm basing this off the fact that if you look up Husk and Death Knight, there's like less than 100 games with it. Which means it's hard to tell whether or not the card is just outright just not good or it's just not needed yet. And I think it leans towards the latter rather than the former. The card is not being played. Or is it that Death
Knight is bad?
No, Death Knight is very good right now.
Okay, never mind. Okay, all right. That's fine.
I think what it comes down to is that you would rather be way more proactive than just kind of hope that this saves you at some point in the game. Death Knight already has a ton of ways to gain life, and I'm like max life, not just like heal up. So yeah, like this is nice to have, and maybe in the right circumstances, this will win you the game. But for the most part, like it's just not necessary. It's very redundant for what Death Knight wants to do. There's also just not like a huge combo deck that they're kind of playing around currently. Like the thing would be that you would use this card against something that's going to do a huge amount of damage all at once, like a Murozond, right? Like this card would save your life against a Murozond, but there's nothing like that. A lot of the current combo decks do damage incrementally. So like you will come back to life just to die again.
Waves.
Yeah. And that sucks because this card is really cool. The animation is amazing, but unfortunately right now it is not seeing play. This is what
sucks.
Yeah, I think it's like more of a tech card than anything else. Like at some point in the next time or the next year that it's in standard, there's probably a combo deck where maybe this is just going to win you the game on the spot. But at the moment, there's not enough data to support that this card is actually playable yet.
There's also the argument too that it's like this sort of plays into the proactivity argument where it's like you want to spend the corpses on doing other stuff than like making you survive, right? Because if you do this, and let's say you're all of a sudden in a position that you're doing really well, but like your opponent can kill you, but you need those corpses. Your opponent goes in, procs this death rattle, and now all of a sudden so wait, okay, how does it says spend up to 20 corpses. Is it mandatory? Does it drain all your corpses or do you get to pick?
No, you have to, whatever corpses are available when you die is what you get.
Right. So what I'm saying is, okay, so like if you have 10 corpses, let's say, and maybe you needed those for like a board wipe or some other effect, and then they proc this and now all those corpses are gone, that could actually be a detriment to you in a way as well. The Fins Beyond Time. I'm getting flashbacks and traumatic flashbacks to the Rumble of all the Murlocs. 2 mana, 2/3 Murloc. Battle Cry. Replace your hand with your starting hand. Swap back at the end of your turn. Oh, so this is like what we wanted the other card to do. Which one? The Chromie. This is like what we wanted Chromie to be, essentially.
Yeah, sure. I see the comparison. Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's not exactly the same, but like there is a world that's like, okay, you're playing aggro, you dump a bunch of guys, you have no cards, then all of a sudden you get to play this, and then you get, assuming you're opening, okay, question. Yep. Does it go based off of pre-mulligan or post-mulligan?
Post-mulligan. Whatever's in your hand when the first mana is given to you.
When the first mana is given to you. Got it. Okay. Yeah, so if your first hand is, again, if you're playing an aggro deck, super aggressive, you run out of gas, but you just need a little bit more to cross the finish line, slam this, get the whole hand back, drop all those guys, and then it doesn't matter if you swap back to your other hand at the end of the turn because, one, they might be dead, or two, you just put enough pressure that you win the game like on the following turn anyway. So good?
Sure about that?
Oh my God. Yes.
Okay, so sadly, this card's not playable yet.
I hate this. How am I getting them all wrong? Okay, and so, it's the logic of Chromie. That's what would make Chromie good.
When I saw this card, I think that I said this card is like maybe the best card I've seen of the set. Here's the problem.
Okay. Apparently I have Rarran brain because we've said that about every card.
You gotta let me finish my sentence. The problem is this isn't Paladin. If this was for, I think, legitimately any other class in the game, I think this is an auto-include. The fact that it's for Paladin really, really sucks because Paladin doesn't really utilize this effect as well as every other class probably could. Now, one thing for this card was that it was played in the Murloc quest deck. Murloc quest deck, from what you remember from Rarran's Rumble, was nerfed twice. It was recently nerfed in this.
It got nerfed twice? I know it got nerfed once. That's so funny.
It's actually a really interesting argument. That quest ended up being like a pub stomper in a sense. Like it ended up being really good in lower ranks, but you never saw it in high ranks. You never saw it.
I could see that.
So yeah.
I think a card like that's fine though.
Maybe make a Reddit post and start an argument. We'll see what happens for the majority of people.
Okay.
Listen, I agree with you. I don't think this card was necessarily a problem, but I think if you're somebody who doesn't play this game to just kill your opponent and you're looking for just kind of like a fun value deck down in bronze and you queue up against this deck and it's making your life a miserable hell, I can understand why you wouldn't like this thing. From a competitive standpoint, from all the people are going to disagree with me in the comments, but again, remind yourself what rank you are.
They never do that.
Remind yourself what rank you are. This card's unplayable like in Legend. Like you wouldn't play the Murloc quest. Beyond Time worked in that deck because A, it's a Murloc, but B, you don't have a ton of draw in that deck. If you needed like more resources to buff your quest up even more, you play Fins of Time. You have 3 more Murlocs because you have the quest in hand and you can't play it again, so it's kind of just a dead card. And then it ends up being some kind of resource. It's almost like a 2-mana draw 3. The issue is now the Murloc quest is nerfed, and Paladin doesn't really need an effect like this because the deck they're currently playing is just better. Like you don't want to spend like 2 mana to get cards that start in your hand because you want to get the cards that actually matter from your deck, which ends up being a problem. Now, if this card was for Rogue, this might be the best card in the game. Like it's not even close. Like I'm waiting for them to do the dual class Tavern Brawl again, because there is a situation where you get this card in your opening hand, you get Eviscerate, Prep, and Shadow Step. And you can just go Fins of Time, Shadow Step, Prep, Eviscerate, play this again, and keep doing that over and over again until your opponent dies.
See, that's fun.
That would be like such a funny highlight to happen. Obviously, that's dual class Tavern Brawl, but you can tell like if this was in Rogue and they had the ability with Shadow Step, this card would be fucking insane. Like it'd be broken.
Make it neutral. Take it one step further. Ooh. Neutral legendary. Let every class play with it.
I think, So that at least like in my opinion is the problem with this card is like it's Paladin. And I really wish like it was for any other class. Again, I do think in the future, it doesn't mean right after rotation, but an effect like this could be extremely valuable for the right deck.
Simo misreading a Paladin card once again. Time repeats itself. How fitting, considering that's the theme of the video.
Here's a question for you. I know Yu-Gi-Oh is a paper game, but let's just say it worked virtually.
This card would be fucking broken. Okay, this would be banned on site if this card existed. Okay. You have to remember too, we start with 5 in hand too, right? So that's a big difference as well. You told me there's a card. Didn't you tell me there's some card? You probably showed this to me in a video because we've done like a million of these at this point. There's some card where it's like you get like a second hand or something like that. Yes. I mean, this kind of does that.
So Secret Passage was the comparison that people made to this. Passage, the reason why it was better was it's in Rogue, but also during its time in Standard, it was 1 mana. And 1 mana in Rogue as a spell is just kind of disgusting. So like that's why it was so good.
Passage would be banned in Yu-Gi-Oh! This would also be banned in Yu-Gi-Oh! Just 100%. Not even close.
Yeah, cool card though. Really, really cool card. Hoping it's used play at some point. Here is your next one. I'm sure you'll get this one. Don't worry, you got it.
I hope it doesn't see play out of spite just because I got it wrong. Krona, Keeper of Eons. Very dramatic name. 6 mana, 4/7 with Taunt and Battle Cry. Set the costs of the bottom 5 cards of your deck to 1. Okay.
I'm going to help you out here for 1 second. Hold on, because
I don't believe you.
I do think it's kind of important to give you some context here. Here's this card.
All right, you sent me Wave Shaping. This is a 1 mana, discover a card from your deck. The others get put on the bottom. Interesting. And then Contingency, 3 mana, draw the bottom 2 cards from your deck. That's really cool.
I'll send you one more just so you have full context here.
Sure. So there's what I'm getting from this is while you're sending it is that there's plenty of cards that let you do stuff with the bottom of your deck. Kaldori Cultivator, 3 mana, 3/4 Battle Cry. Discover 2 beasts, put them on the bottom of your deck with +5/+5. This is something that I wish Yu-Gi-Oh! Sort of did more. There are a few cards that put stuff on the bottom of your deck, but aside from one really bad card that I think I've shown you historically, there isn't really a way to like interact with the cards on the bottom of your deck. There's like very few ways at all. And I think that could be really cool. What I'm seeing is that, so like you can go Cultivator on 3, hypothetically, because it's a 3 mana 3/4. That's like a fine play on turn 3. Okay, so you look at 2 beasts or discover 2 beasts. They go to the bottom. They're +5/+5. And then at some point you play the Krona, make everything cost 1, and then you contingency to draw the bottom 2 cards. Oh, look, they're the 2 beasts that are +5/+5.
Now, hold on.
That seems like a lot of work.
Remind yourself. This isn't just for those beasts. I'm just showing you some of the cards that they gave. Like you can put
sure. Yeah.
Deos, for instance, Deios could be at the bottom of your deck. Right? Murzon could be at the bottom of your deck. Like any potential card could be at the bottom of your deck. I would focus way more on Krona and Wave Shaping and Contingency rather than the Kaldori. But I figured I chose
because Wave Shaping puts the other 2 cards on the bottom, and then theoretically, if you miss with 1 Wave Shaping, you could like go again to put 2 different cards on the bottom if you're looking for something specifically, because they come from your deck. It says discover a card from your deck, so it's not going to be some random BS that you don't want. So then if you're trying to do some combo shenanigans, that becomes more likely. Let me think. You go Wave Shaping, maybe a second Wave Shaping. You put stuff on the bottom. You Krona set them to 1. You continuously draw the 2. I'm trying to like do the math to figure out like if you're trying to do a combo with Wave Shaping, I'm trying to figure out like what the odds are of hitting the 2 cards you want to hit to draw off contingency.
I'm gonna give you a pattern on this, rather than you thinking like a guaranteed combo. I think it's a little that I'm just gonna be honest with you is just too inconsistent because you may just never draw the Wave Shaping in time. So the way that this works is that you basically play Wave Shaping in the opening hand, or you just play Krona as early as possible with contingency in hand and hope you high roll into something. The deck is kind of built in a particular way where it's like you have so much high end that you're guaranteed to mana cheat something into infinity, in a sense.
Okay.
So it's not like you're going for like, if I get this perfect combo at the bottom of my deck and then I Krona, then I have lethal. It's more like I have cards that are 12 mana in my deck. If I Krona into it and I draw it, it's probably just over because my opponent has to.
Yeah, I get it. So it's basically like you're putting a high enough density of those cards in your deck that if you Wave Shaping, you'll most likely hit them. And it doesn't matter what they are. Like any of them are good, is what you're saying.
Yes, I will show you one more card actually.
Got it.
Because I did forget one. Where the hell is it?
Tortolan Traveler, 3 mana, 1/5 taunt, Death Rattle, draw another taunt minion, reduce its cost by 2. So technically speaking, if you play 2 of this, you have a 50-50 if there's no other taunts in the deck. If you only play 1 of this, you guarantee to hit it. Okay. Basically, this is like the whole deck. There have been decks like this in other games that are similar in concept. Maybe not necessarily like the bottom aspect, but basically like just trying to high roll off the top of your deck, let's say, and just like hit big stuff and win. Is that good enough for Hearthstone? Typically these decks, they see play, but they're not necessarily like the best deck that you could be playing. but they're on average consistent enough that they'll be like kind of hovering around the top because they can just high roll sometimes like insanely well, and then they just keep winning because of that.
Okay.
So I'll say this is a deck. I won't say this is the best deck you could be doing, but I think there's enough here.
Timo, you're This card, the day of the expansion, was awesome because no one had any idea what to build unless you're playing older decks. So this deck was absolutely destroying people. It was actually insane. This card's unplayable currently. Like, there are no people playing this card.
I like how I'm right about everything except for the fact of whether or not it's playable at this exact juncture. Like, everything else logically is correct. That's almost impressive that I'm like 0 for 7 at this point.
You know what the biggest problem with Druid right now is that they don't have any other ramp besides one card. Normally, Druid has like ramp.
Okay.
So if you don't hit the Traveler and you have Chrono in hand, at least you get to kind of jumpstart your way into Chrono. And if you don't draw Traveler and Chrono, at least you have mana to get to these more expensive cards. And like that is kind of the defining factor for Druid right now. Even if you hit Chrono though, the problem is that like you can't just only run cards that are 8 mana or above. You'll just die, like no matter what.
Right. Okay.
So you could just low roll entirely. The other issue is, and this is probably the most important part of this, you don't always get contingency. So if you don't have contingency and you don't have the ability to draw from the bottom of your deck, your Chrono didn't really do anything. Like it kind of just sat, it kind of just was a taunt, which is the other issue. There's just too many consistency issues when it comes to the deck like this. But if you do hit, it feels great. Like it feels really good because obviously you're winning. It's like it kind of feels like a Yu-Gi-Oh deck in a sense because you're like exploding on turn 5. Like the game's over.
But now I think I was operating under the pretense that Druid still had like ways to ramp like exceptionally well, because then it's like, okay, if you don't hit any of this and you still hit your big guys, you still just play your big guys. And maybe that's still too slow, but at least you get them out. But that's a huge difference. Sure.
Yeah, sure. I think it's weird because Druid's going to be in a spot next year, depending on how they handle it, where they're going to have no ramp.
That's so weird because I feel like that's like part of that class's identity, but okay.
I guess the conversation ends up being now is like cards are so good for their mana that having ramp is just that much better than it used to be.
Sure.
So,
okay. Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to handle this because when rotation hits, the only form of ramping for Druid will be gone. And then that will kind of dictate how Druid gets played. Maybe it's just a horrible balance problem, but I'm sure they'll get ramp in some other way. I'd be shocked if they let Druid without any ramp. For the time being, it's just not consistent enough.
Got it.
Okay.
All right. My goal at this point is to get all of them wrong because I think that's more impressive at this point. All right. Chrono-Lord Epoch. 6 mana, 7/5 battle cry. Destroy all minions that you play, or excuse me, destroy all minions that your opponent played last turn. Destroy all minions that your opponent played last turn. On the surface, I want to say this card is bad, but then you're going to be like, this card's broken and in every warrior deck ever. Because the problem is, if you have this and your opponent already, like, okay, let's say your opponent's established a board, and then play comes back to you. You don't have this in your hand yet. And then say you do something, turn goes back to them. Say they don't play anything else, or they play like one guy, and they still have their field of like a bunch of guys, right? Yep. Then you draw this card, and then it doesn't fucking do anything, because then they still have their whole board of guys.
Yes. Yes.
But if you're trading blows back and forth and your opponent does play a bunch of things, and especially if they're playing like aggro, right? If they're playing aggro and like really pushing because they need to like get the damage in, then this card just comes in and cleans them up just with a singular card, which is pretty good. Like depending on what you're taking out, like even if you're taking out like 2 high value minions, like that's probably fine. Like obviously you want to get more, but even if it's just 2 things that are really annoying, like if they're taunts or if they're the guy who has infinite attack, right? So that way you don't get infinite attack killed. You know, that's this. Here's your counter. Here you go.
Okay.
So I guess I'm trying to come down from the world of extremes and just think like, is this just good enough that you would run this? Because in most instances, is your opponent going to commit like 1 or 2 things to the board before you play this, and you're totally fine just taking those things out and establishing a 7/5 turn that you do it, versus the times that you draw this and it does nothing because your opponent's already established and like in a position to like try and kill you, and then it doesn't do anything. Like does the former outweigh the latter is what I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
It's an interesting effect, though, because it's like technically a board wipe on a body. This is tough. I think this is the hardest one.
Yeah, this is definitely. Yeah. I 100% agree with you.
I'm gonna say it's playable.
Okay.
And he's laughing. All right, add it to the list. 0-8.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. Chrono-Lord Epoch has this weird thing where, in some instances, you add this to your deck because of the dragon synergy. That's what I was kind of alluding to. Because it's a dragon, a lot of the warrior package looks for, if you're holding a dragon, do this.
Do X.
And like that has the synergy with a lot of those cards because it ends up being a dragon. In worst case scenario, it probably clears 1 minion. Problem with this card is that it's ridiculously slow, and you often want to hold it for something that's like valuable because this might be your only way to swap tempo. So before this patch, people were playing it actually a lot. Like I got Legend with this card in my deck, just for the record. Okay. Currently, post patch, it is not played in like any deck. And the more I look, I was like,
let's go back to pre-patch, man. Just go back to pre-patch.
I was looking at the list and I'm like, why did people cut it? It feels like people were trying to go for more of a draw package because one of the issues you can have with this deck is you run out of resources. So it seems like they're going for more draw. They're going for more ways to actually fill up your hand rather than having this. So I don't want to call this card outright bad just because it's not being played in any list. Maybe I'm a little bit more biased because I like I said, I got Legend with this. But currently, it is not being played in any of the warrior decks that would want to run it. Here is your next one.
Woo! Let's go! Chronogore, 6 mana, 6/7 dragon, battle cry. You draw your 2 highest cost cards. Your opponent draws your 2 lowest cost cards. You draw your 2 highest. Your opponent draws your 2 lowest. Yes. And this is coming from the deck. Yes.
Yes, coming from the deck. Yep.
So technically, if your lowest cost cards are already like in your hand, then that shifts what your lowest cost card is, right?
Yeah. So like, yeah, exactly. Basically, the way that you would look at this card is you're looking for a very specific card at the highest end of your deck. You don't care what the bottom 2 cards are. You're just like, I need that consistent draw. There's synergy with this for anyone. Like people will be like, show them the other cards. Like there's cards that add a 0 mana card that when you draw them, you take 3 damage. So the idea is like you give those to your opponent, so you don't have the drawback.
Right.
But
exactly.
I would argue that this card on its own is just kind of like good in a vacuum. I'm not gonna tell you if it's playable, but it's good in a vacuum. You don't need the other cards in order for this card to see play.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, because if you're looking for consistent ways to access certain high cost things, then this is like your way of getting it. So it just depends at that point on, I guess, like how important those cards are to the deck. Like if you're, I don't know, like I'm going back to basic boomer brain, but if you just get like, Molten Giants or something, then it's like, okay, cool. You get 2 Molten Giants and then you drop them because your life is like, 2. And so then you get like a bunch of guys for free or whatever. Or again, if you're looking for like a very specific legendary or something along those lines, and it's like, this is like technically a second copy of it because you're just drawing it out of the deck, even though it takes an extra turn for you to get there. Yep. So that could be decent. Like you said, I don't think you don't care about the bottom part of this card. Like you just only care about the top part. You're just looking at it for extra consistency. And in your game, that can be good. It just really depends on like what it is that you're going for. I feel like if you feel like that consistency is needed. I want to say this is not good, but my intuition has been horrible this entire video. So I'm almost tempted to say the opposite just because of that. I hear you laughing over there.
This is a fun video.
I bet you're having a blast. This
is funny.
I'm going to say it's not good.
All right. For the first time this video, you are correct. It is not playable.
Fucking God. Oh my God.
So yeah, you're actually...
no, I'm sad because now I don't get to go 0 for 10 or however many of these cards we're looking at. Because I was kind of looking forward to having the worst record of the year.
Not all... Like, it's hard to blame you again because a lot of these are so close to being like insane. Yeah. It just comes down to what class they are or how expensive they are.
Yeah.
The problem with this card is the synergy that was brought to this expansion is just not that good for a deck like this. Like there's no need for you to play a 6 mana 6/7 to draw 2. The other bigger problem is like, why are you giving this to Warlock when Warlock can just draw like infinitely if they want to? And worst case scenario, by turn 6, you're probably going to have other plays anyways. So unless you're looking for like a very, very, very specific card in your high end, then yeah, I guess this is fine, but also what deck wants this? Like, it's so many questions to have. And unfortunately, this card is not playable.
It's funny because, like, in my brain, seeing the give your opponent 2 cards, I don't care if I'm giving them 1 card. Unless I'm winning the game that turn, like Yu-Gi-Oh brain, you never do that. That's, like, awful.
So in Hearthstone, that is less relevant because obviously, like,
yeah, it is.
You could give them like, you could give them like a Flame Imp and you probably just wouldn't care. I just feel like there's just never 2 cards you really care that much about that you're willing to play a 6-mana 6/7 in 2025. All right, I'm gonna show you. I showed CGB all the Fabled cards. I'm gonna show you them. Show you 2 of them. Okay. Just because I think they're so cool, and I think from your brain it's gonna be interesting to hear what a Yu-Gi-Oh player thinks. I'm gonna explain what a Fabled card is. Okay. A Fabled card means when you add this card to your deck, it adds the corresponding cards with it. So rather than adding 1 card, you're adding 3 cards. And those 3 cards total up to the 30 cards in your deck. This feels like almost like a design mistake because they couldn't fit the flavor all into 1 card. But I actually have an alternate approach where it's like there's so much story to be told here that they couldn't tell it on 1 card, so they have to show it to you in multiple cards. And this ended up being, I saw CGB, I'm gonna still say this. I think this is the coolest thing they've done in a very long time. Like, I think these cards
I'm surprised you didn't just say this for a whole separate video, to be honest.
Okay, so I'll give you an example here. This is like the Fabled, this is one of the cards I'm gonna show you, but this is Broxigar. You could read the card and I'll
2 mana 12/12. I imagine that's not gonna be the case. Fabled, charge, start of game, disappear, kill all 4 demons from Argus to reappear in hand.
Okay, so yeah, you're right. You don't get a 2 mana 12/12 immediately, but that is currently in your hand. But it's just like you can't play it until you do the quest in a sense.
Does it count as a card in your hand?
No, it does not. No, it does not.
Okay.
So when you add Broxigar, you're also adding this.
The Axe of Cenarius. 3 mana 3/2 lifesteal. After your hero attacks and kills a minion, draw a portal to Argus.
Okay, and the portal to Argus looks like this, which is the other card you're going to add to your deck when you add Brox.
0 mana, summon a 1/1 demon for your opponent, excuse me. When it dies, draw a card and shuffle the next portal into your deck. And then keep going up, I assume.
Without showing you every single portal, it goes for a 1/1 to a 2/1 to a 3/1 to a 4/1. The last portal is this.
Final portal to Argus. Summon a 4/1 demon for your opponent. When it dies, Broxigar reappears in your hand. Got it.
Okay, so do you think Broxigar is getting played as a 2 mana 12/12 with additional stuff?
So the problem I'm seeing here is that the axe only has 3 attacks.
2 attacks.
Oh, 2 attacks. Sorry, it has 3 attack. It's 2 durability. Yeah, my bad. So it only has 2 durability. So you would need to see 2 axes or have a way to make the durability on this card go higher in order to keep this going, because you're only drawing the portals if you're killing something with the axe. To me, Warrior would be the class that would give like durability to weapons, not Demon Hunter. Does Demon Hunter have that ability?
I don't think so. No. Okay. Even Warrior currently doesn't have that in the game.
Okay.
You can draw the portals naturally, and Demon Hunter is a class that does have a decent amount of draw, so it's not your only way to draw them. It's just to get it consistently, it's just from the axe itself.
I don't know. This seems like 5 million steps to get to this guy. I'm not seeing this. This seems like insane.
You have a 2 mana 12/12. What do you mean?
So what? That's if you get there. You would die before you get there.
You sure?
Oh my God. Yes, I'm sure. There's no way. There's no way.
Broxigar's really... This one I kind of just wanted to show you because I think it's just so funny to look at.
Just rip the Band-Aid off. Just rip the Band-Aid off.
No, but the thing is I said the same thing to CGB, and I'm seeing the same thing post-patch. It's like, Broxigar's in the deck, not because I think he's like the most broken card in the world. I just think the Axe of Cenarius on its own is just good. And Demon Hunter has enough ways to kill these minions that are from these portals. So it's almost in a sense like a 0 mana draw. Like, you're drawing the card anyways. You're drawing the portal, and then you have to kill the portal to draw another card. That's kind of just where it falls there. The Broxigar's like, holy shit, I did it. I got a 2 mana 12/12. But it's not like the reason you're playing it. Like, it's just kind of in the deck. And I think that's really interesting because why am I running this card on its own just for the axe? But that's like the interesting thing about Fabled cards. But maybe at This deck also is really defensive. Like, it's the same deck I showed you earlier that has the Fellbat and the this is resummoning with Deios. So it's like an alternative win condition if that board doesn't just win the game on the spot.
Sure.
There are instances where Broxikar will finish the game. Like, it's not an unplayable card. All right.
This is very Yu-Gi-Oh mechanically, though, I will say.
Now that you know how Fabled card works, all right? And yeah, like you said, it's like Yu-Gi-Oh. This is the I'm gonna preface this by saying this, and I said this to CGB. This is the coolest card, in my opinion, that they have probably ever done in this game.
Okay. That you're setting the bar high. Garona Halforcen? I probably butchered that, but whatever. 4 mana, 5/4, Fabled, Battlecry. If your opponent is holding King Lane, destroy him and cut their health in half.
Right, before I show you King Lane.
The King Slayers, it's a weapon, 2 mana, 3/2. After your hero attacks, both players draw a legendary card. And then King Lane is start of game, hide from Garona in the enemy's deck. Battlecry, draw a card, shuffle this back into your deck.
You put this card, you put Garona in your deck, get the King Slayer, and you get King Lane in your deck. That's 3 of your 27 cards. The game starts, King Lane gets pulled from your deck and gets put into your opponent's deck. That means you start the game with 29 cards and your opponent starts with 31. That also means that with the King Slayers, even if your opponent's running other legendary cards, if they end up drawing King Lane, that is 1 card in their hand that is theoretically dead. And if you could pinpoint it, Garona theoretically could do an upwards of 15 damage, if not more, depending if it's Death Knight. If you don't have Garona, your opponent has to make the conscious decision of, hey, do I play this card for a 3 mana cycle to get it back into my deck, or do I just hold it?
Yeah, like the fact that technically you're giving your opponent a dead card, and technically you're getting like 1 less card in your deck, that's like already pretty good because your guys' deck counts are so low. So that's decent. And then again, like there's the world where they're drawing a card that theoretically does nothing for them. The King Slayers, you just have to like draw this raw, right?
You have to, well, your opponent can draw it off you. Oh yeah, the weapon, yes. Yeah. There are cards that,
the weapon. Yeah.
There are cards that will tutor a weapon specifically.
Okay. Sure. In Rogue?
In Rogue.
Okay. All right. So after hero attacks, both players draw a legendary card. The problem I see with the weapon potentially, I'm assuming, yes, King Lane's a legendary. It doesn't have the little orange thing, so I wasn't sure. But I see the border, so it is a legendary.
Yep.
The only problem I see with that, and I'm assuming you don't see what the card is, right?
Well, like you mean like if King Lane's in your opponent's hand?
Like when you go King Slayers attack and both players draw a legendary card, you see what yours is. You don't see what your opponent's is.
You will not see what they draw.
Okay. So the only problem I see with that is typically most decks are probably running some number of legendaries. So it's not guaranteed that King Lane's going to be the card that gets added to their hand. And in continuing on that line of thinking, you could give them something that really benefits them depending on what it is that they're trying to do, because the legendary effect's usually pretty good.
Okay.
So that's a problem. The other problem is, like, okay, yes, this can theoretically do half your opponent's life, but if they're already on, like, 4 life, then, like, it doesn't really do anything, technically. Like, you can just hit them with the King Slayers and just kill them at that point. You know? Okay. So like there is like diminishing returns as the game goes on, unless there's like a way for them to get like a shit ton of life and then like actually having it does something. Not that it's like bad early on, but I feel like as the game progresses, it like does gradually get worse and worse. Unless there is like a shot where you go like summon Garona, you know they have the king, they're on 30 life, they go down to 15, and maybe you have a way to kill them because you have like 10 mana, so you only used 4. So then you use the other 6 mana to like deal 15 somehow. I don't know if that's doable, but maybe it is. So then you have like this like big OTK. I really like it conceptually.
Yes, conceptually this card is very cool.
Yeah, I feel like there might be enough issues with it that it's not as good. I guess you draw a legendary 2 with King Slayers, which is nice. So that gets you 2 Garona or another legendary you have possibly that's good. This one's really hard. I feel like it could be good, but I feel like, I don't know. My gut's saying, not that it's been very good this round. I feel like there's like enough, there's enough downsides here that I feel like.
That's so I'm clear. What are the downsides you're speaking about?
Like,
the only downside you said...
having your opponent's life when it's like below a certain number basically is like useless at some point, right?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So
making your opponent draw a legendary, and if it's not the King lane, you're giving them a legendary that they're already playing that they might be just wanting to get out of their deck anyway because it advances their game plan. Like, that's not good because you don't know what they're getting off of the Kingslayers.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, so then it just becomes a question of, okay, would you rather just be playing other stuff instead of doing this? Like, there is a world where everything comes together and you get King Lane in their hand, and then you play this, and then you have their health down to 15 from 30. Like, cool. You still have to, like, kill them, though. So, and it's not like there isn't healing in Hearthstone. I think, like, design-wise and flavor-wise, it's really cool. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it.
Okay, so you're going with this card as not being played.
Yes.
Okay, so let me. I gotta tell you two stories here. We'll start with pre-patch. This card was played in every single rogue deck because starting off with 29 cards versus 30 is actually like a pretty decent deal. But the Kingslayers, as much as yes, you are drawing a legendary for your opponent, you are also drawing a legendary for yourself. And if you have very particular legendaries that you're looking for because you're the one building your deck, that is really good for you, especially in a class like Rogue that has mana cheating. So if all of a sudden, I actually told you this at the start, Deios is a legendary that was put into Rogue for a very particular reason. If I have him consistently by turn, I forget what it is, 7, the game's over. You guys win. So, and that's one less card in my deck to find the Kingslayers or draw him naturally or whatever it may happen to be. So the Kingslayers is extremely good for Rogue. Also the fact that you're dealing 6 damage to your opponent for 2 mana, which is just really, really great. There's also the side of aggro. Aggro really likes this card because once again, you're finding your burn quicker. You're finding the cards that you need to kill your opponent faster. Garona, obviously, as your opponent gets lower and lower, yes, you're right, it doesn't deal as much, but Garona is still relevant because Garona could technically just be 3 damage or 4 damage. And that's often going to be good enough. I won a game when I did a impossible Fabled challenge is what I called it. Garona did 5 damage for me and she won me the game. Like, I wouldn't have had lethal without her, even though my opponent was at 10 life. So it's like that micro damage may not seem like it matters a lot, but maybe in an aggro deck, it's the difference. And like, that's not to mention that my opponent drew King Lane rather than having a form of removal or an actual good card that they could have used against me.
Sure.
Now we go to post patch. Rogue got hit really hard post patch, like really fucking hard, because Rogue has been dominating forever. And because of what they lost, that kind of Garona deck isn't being played, but it's still being played in the aggro version of it because it's just fine.
Sure.
So this card might be extremely good going into like rotation. It's still being played now, like I said. The highlight here, like I said, is just the flavor, how this card interacts with your opponent. Hitting Garona is a huge like dopamine hit. It is the best feeling in the world. Like I have the signature version of it, which is like the alternative art, and most people haven't seen it. So in like when I was doing that challenge, it was like the card is drawn and I see my opponent highlighting because you can see like the border of the card that they're looking at. And I'm like, that's it. They have it in their hand. So when you snipe it, it feels so good. Like masterpiece of a card. Anyways, that's across the Timeways.
It's so funny because like Yu-Gi-Oh, we have cards that say like have your opponent's life for doing whatever, and like those cards just like usually suck. Like it's just straight up. So it's just like, yes, there's like more to it than that. I get it. But even with like all those extra things that could be added on top of it, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh is just such a different game where it's like really life points just don't matter. It's like you're either alive or you're dead 90% of the time. Yeah. And so I think that's just like a huge difference. And that's probably where I just got absolutely just shat on this video is that I was thinking too much Yu-Gi-Oh brain instead of Hearthstone brain.
I will say specifically for Garona is the least impactful part of this card. Like you don't notice how much King Lane potentially does until either you snipe it or they play it. You don't notice how, well, Kingslayer, you see it because you're drawing 2 legendaries that you put in your deck for a reason.
Right,
but that card really amplifies it. Like it's such, I don't know, it's such a cool card. Like I can't get over how sick this card is. Maybe in other videos I'll show you the rest of the Fabled cards because I think they're really unique. But anyways, that's the set.